In today's video, we're going to do a simple crush and strain honey extraction or harvest, and we only need a few simple tools. So if you've got a serrated knife and a potato masher, all you'll need next are a couple of buckets. I use a honey bucket with a strainer, and another bucket sits on top of that, and you see I've got two pieces of wood that I place there. And then this food grade bucket, I've drilled some 3/8 holes in the bottom, and that sets right on top of the bucket with the strainer. So you probably saw my last video on the spring inspection that was just yesterday on the timeline in real time. That was just yesterday. So today I'm going to harvest a few of the frames of honey that I was able to gather. And I did not get a full frame of honey out of any one of the colonies this year. Now last year I did really good. I got a lot of honey. This year not that great, but considering that I don't feed my bees, and they still had surplus, that's a good thing. So all I'm using is just a serrated kitchen knife, and I'm just cutting through the comb. That's all you got to do is just cut through the comb and just take your time. A serrated knife is so much easier than a straight knife too. So use a serrated knife, cut the comb, and then you want to just gently drop it into the top bucket with the holes. So you just break that off and just let it fall in there and make sure you get all the honey. So if there's a little bit left, you can just kind of scrape that off and let that fall into the bucket. Now next, you want to get your potato masher and just mash it like you're mashing potatoes. And that will crush all the cells. And you want to make sure that you do it very thoroughly. That way all the caps break. You just want to mush it up. It's going to look like honey soup. So you can just keep repeating the process one frame at a time. And I'm only cutting out the portions that have honey, and I leave the rest of the wax comb in place. So you might be wondering, so why didn't I put this in the extractor? Well, I could have, but I've only got less than 10 frames of honey to harvest, and they're not even full frames. So by the time I bring out the extractor, pierce the cells, and then run it through the spinner and get it all extracted, it would take me probably just as long, if not longer, to get everything out, set it up, and then clean everything off afterwards. So I just figured, you know what, for the small amount that's here, we're just going to go ahead and do it the old-fashioned way. Before I ever had an extractor, that's all I used to do, was just cut, crush, and strain the honey. Now it is true, if you have an extractor, you could extract it and the bees would not have to rebuild the comb. Now I've been beekeeping for a number of years, so I have lots and lots of extra comb, and it's really not that big a deal for me to cut out this little bit that's really here. Relatively speaking, this is just a small amount compared to what I've got stored. So I could easily give these partial frames of drawn comb back to the bees, and it's not going to take them all that much effort to rebuild, especially now based on the timing of the year. So the timing of the year, this is early spring, and so they've got a big honey flow coming in front of them. Between mid-March and April and May, they're going to have so much resources to build from that it's really not going to put them at a disadvantage. So I am keeping the bees in mind as I do this, and I want to make this as easy as possible for the bees, but also too, you have to be reasonable as far as what it's going to cost you as the beekeeper. For a lot of us, we're just backyard beekeepers, And most honey extractors are not really cheap. Once in a while you can find them for $150 to $250, but in order to get a decent quality one, especially the one that will extract for the lay-ins frames, you're going to need to spend $800 and up in order to get one. So maybe you could find a used one for less, but I think the new ones right now are going for close to $1,000 by the time you pay tax and shipping. So that's a pretty steep investment for a hobby. So as long as I've been a beekeeper, so I'm going on somewhere around 15 years, I didn't get an extractor until about 4 years ago. That's when I got my first extractor. So don't let the thought of not having an extractor prevent you from harvesting like this. The bees will do fine. So here's the last of it. Just mash that honey up. Make sure you work it all the way down on the sides and the bottom. And it's going to take some time. You're going to leave these buckets sitting on top of one another. I leave them overnight. So if it's got to be reasonable temperature outside. And when I say reasonable, this day was about 72 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe 74. And the sun was out, so it felt just a little warmer. But you're going to need a little bit of warmth in order for that honey to run. You could do this indoors if you wanted to. I do this outside on my back deck just to keep everything from being sticky in the house. So just mash everything up real good and just prepare to have that honey sit overnight, and it will run through the bottom of the bucket through those 3/8 inch holes, and it'll run through the strainer that you've placed on top of your honey strainer bucket. And I always like to just wrap it up in a plastic garbage bag. That keeps the bees from getting in there, and it helps it stay warm. And then I just put out my frames for the bees to clean off the next day, and my tools, and the bees clean them up. And after that, I can bottle it, and look at that beautiful honey. It's a little darker this year too. Every year that you harvest honey, you're going to notice that it's always a different shade of amber. So this year and last year are both a little bit on the dark side. Most of the time it's kind of a medium dark. Sometimes I get a little bit lighter, but I seem to have something growing in the area that tends to lean towards the dark. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you're enjoying beekeeping wherever you are in the world. And until the next video, keep on enjoying beekeeping.